one battle pass token asterisk subject to availability, and then basically the asterisk there goes on about how the fact that the live service could end, and this will be completely pointless.
Ewan, what have they done now?
You're starting this off so negatively, Scott.
Yeah, that's to be fair. We're going to cover a lot of stuff with the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game, which has recently been shown off a lot more. The gameplay updates, the map reveal that it's twice the size of Arkham Knight, etc. But the general response is mixed at best, to try and not be entirely negative.
Yeah, so last night we got our first big, what we would call probably a developer diary. It's called Suicide Squad Insider. This comes about 8 months after the last time we saw Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which I believe was at State of Play earlier this year, and it wasn't really greeted that well by a lot of people. This led to a delay. Some people mistakenly thought this was due to they were going to like recalibrate the gameplay of it, make it less live servicey and whatnot. But it's more a case, Jason Schreier reported back then that it's just going to be like polished. They've basically been polishing the game for its February 2nd release next year. So we got our first insider look yesterday, and Scott, everything is still looking a little bit. And I don't want to bully Rocksteady because, Scott, you know that the Batman Arkham series means a lot to me. It's had a profound impact, not just on my career as like a guy who spouts stupid stuff online, but also my personal life. But yes, we got the first kind of insider video. It's about 20 minutes long. It shows off a few of the opening levels of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Really great look at the presentation of the game. The game, like, on a visual level, it looks fantastic. Rocksteady are a very talented developer. The actual character models look really, really good. And they kind of go into the Suicide Squad when they get into Metropolis, ransack the Hall of Justice and get all their special powers, which they use for their different traversal abilities. Really great bit where King Shark just puts on the Riddler's hat, like that, just for demonstration effects.
I mean, maximum King Shark bants after the last Suicide Squad movie. I feel like he's the most.
Oh, he's great, and he's voiced by Samoa Joe as well. So it's really, really fun in that
Shout out
sense.
to AEW.
But when we get into gameplay, that's kind of where everything starts falling apart for me.
Yes.
So
there's also the wider live service framing that is still in here.
Yes.
That we're going to break down.
So you mentioned the Arkham Knight. The map is twice the size of Gotham City in Arkham Knight, so you get all of Metropolis to explore. My mileage kind of varies on how they present Metropolis in this. When I think of Metropolis, I always think of that Art Deco animated series, Fleischer Studios kind of vibe, and here it just kind of looks like a Fortnite map, which probably isn't helped by the fact that the gameplay looks like DC Fortnite 2.
Yes.
The characters and like kind of all look the same. They get obviously different traversal abilities, and they will move around differently. But it's a lot of, we're going to point a gun that looks completely weightless and shoot at different things until numbers explode. And yeah, Captain Boomerang uses a mix between sniper rifles, SMGs, and shotguns as one of the takeaway quotes I've had from this. Because I've been going on and on about, he's called Captain Boomerang.
Yep.
It shouldn't be that hard to get Captain Boomerang. The name is pretty instructive. However, he's only should be called Captain Partial Boomerang in this, because he's only using it in different bits and bobs. And for me, it's still not it.
No, it's not. I mean, it's one of those things where one of the most memeable images that came out of the gameplay reveal, I think the original gameplay reveal was last year, and then some of the updated stuff that we've had between now and then, is the picture of Captain Boomerang with a giant rifle. He's rarely been seen with an actual boomerang since they announced this game. But overall, like you said, there are those Fortnite comparisons, which can be, driven into the ground. Fortnite's a very easy go-to in terms of a big popular franchise that maybe you don't want your otherwise identifiable franchise feeling like. But in this case, it is almost direct. Like, the movement looks very similar, the general approach, the camera angle, etc. Like, there are a lot of comparisons here, and maybe it's too easy to just assume a whole bunch of business decisions leading to this. But I can't not see them. I can't not see the David Zaslav era infecting Suicide.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels very like, we've gone on about quite a lot recently over the last month on the channel about, the protracted nature of video game development in the modern day. People talking about how, like, if you're starting a game dev right now, you're looking at releasing the PlayStation 6, not the PlayStation 5. For this, we've obviously also had behind the scenes reports and rumors as well that Rocksteady and WB Games Montreal had different games cancelled before they eventually landed on Gotham Knights, which came out last year, and I didn't think was that bad. I actually thought it was pretty good.
Same.
And then also Suicide Squad. So it does kind of feel like we're going away from the core of the Arkhamverse, and it is a continuation of the Arkhamverse. Although how Batman exists right now is a little bit jarring given how Arkham Knight ended, and we've got this completely differently tonally contrasting thing, which is fine because the Suicide Squad are not Batman, and they go into that in the video that, they got to work with a different tone here. But it's all a little bit weird. So we also dropped the pre-order bonuses.
Right.
So we've, which again, when people are exactly on the game side right now, probably isn't the best time to go, here are all the cool live servicey things and looty things that you can get with your pre-order. So we'll start off with the basic digital standard edition, which comes with the full game, which is obviously very good. Classic outfit pack and rogue outfits, which I think are going to be the rogue outfits. I think are a part of like the first battle pass that's going to be in the game. We'll get to that. Classic outfits look really cool. This Harley Quinn model behind us, she looks great.
Yeah.
And then we get into the deluxe edition, the digital deluxe edition. So you get the full game, Justice League outfits. Again, the design in these, they look really, really good. 3 Black Mask Notorious weapons. Squad Gold's weapon dolls,
which I thought was a typo, but it's not Squad Gold's.
Squad Gold's.
It's Gold's Squad. Yeah, for the kids.
1 Battle Pass token, asterisk, Battle Pass token, redeemable for the premium Battle Pass access, seasons 1 to 4 Battle Passes, subject to availability, and then basically the asterisk there goes on about how the fact that the live service could end, and this will be completely pointless.
Because mentioned in here is that they want to do 4 seasons.
Yes.
And I will be amazed if they make it to 4 seasons with this.
They mentioned in the trailer and in the gameplay reveal yesterday as well that they're going to talk about, you get free content here as well, so new characters, new seasons of content, and they're planning on supporting it heavily after launch. But
yeah,
Rocksteady isn't as big as other live service studios as well, which kind of also raises additional concerns.
The thing is, like, obviously, I'm default negative on it at the minute, only because it's not remotely something that I want from a Rocksteady. Well, what I want from Rocksteady as a studio, it's not. I don't think what people expected for an Arkham sequel. Like, this thing is set in the Arkhamverse, but it doesn't feel like it has anything in common with the previous games that came, from the studio. And so it's one of those things where, like, we had that thing from David Zaslav recently saying that if anything, he wants more live service games, and the Wonder Woman game is being mentioned at the minute as having a whole bunch of live service components as well. It just seems like that's what they're doubling down on, even though the assumption when they delayed the game for a year was that they might be removing those things. Case in point also being Gotham Knights, because that game does have live service components left behind in terms of its UI and the way you unlock stuff, the various currencies and the crafting components.
Transmogs, mate.
Yeah, all the transmog stuff. You could see the version of that game that would have been monetized to death if it was in its original form, if that's what it was. We have no actual confirmation, but it feels like it. But like me and Ewan said, we still had a lot of fun with Gotham Knights because it was more focused. It had a really good character writing. I would say it had a really fun version of Gotham. It felt like you were protecting it, etc.
The open world gameplay loop was really fun, where it felt like you were actually going out on a patrol, and Gotham kind of felt good in that way.
And you have to go out on patrol, do some crime, do some stuff, bank it every night, go back to the hideout and talk to characters again. It was cool. That game was cool. For the most part, that's what I hope they were, or assumed, whatever word you want to slot in, they were doing with Suicide Squad, not doubling down on the potential live service components. And the word live service is being mentioned in here, or around this game. But then they also have the Battle Pass stuff. Oh, we're not doing all that, but we are also doing Battle Pass.
Your no shade color swatches.
I'm an old man. I think that this is a language that I no longer speak, but I don't know anyone who does.
No shade color swatches.
No shade, boys.
Squad Golds. We're gonna get like a YOLO pack soon as well, or maybe like the Rufflecop duel make a return as a traversable like kind of gameplay vehicle or something. We also mentioned here as well that, even though Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, it can be played up to 4 players online and co-op. You can also play it completely single player. You can choose a specific character and swap between them between missions. You do have to have an online connection in order to play this game, even if you have no intention of playing it with amigos.
Yes.
That raises some concerns about preservation as well. This is Kevin Conroy's last... this is the last time that Kevin Conroy has released Batman.
Yeah.
So there could be a point in time, if they keep this requirement in, that you might not be able to play through Kevin Conroy's last performance as Batman, which that sucks.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, when it comes to just doing right by creatives or doing right by the work or whatever, the Acme Looney Tunes movie, like, has recently been saved, but was a whole tax write-off $30 million thing, literally because of David Zaslav at the top, preferring a tax write-off to a finished product. I wouldn't put it past them to choose the money over sustaining Kevin Conroy's last performance if it means, funding live services, servers in general, etc., across for the rest of the time. It's just not going to be the case.
The thing that I just can't get over, Scott, is that when this comes out next February, it will have been close to 9 years since Batman Arkham Knight released. That Batman Arkham Knight came out, I believe, in June 2015.
Yes.
So we've been waiting a very, very, very long time to see what Rocksteady have in store next. And for me, between this and the reports of, the behind-the-scenes troubles that affected Warner Bros. Games Montreal, after they made Arkham Origins, I don't know, WB Games doesn't seem like a pretty good place to work under.
No, they seem to. I would always refer to this as like the baton of hate. Like I remember when Ubisoft had it, like across the early 2010s, and then it went to Warner Brothers for a while. It went, it's gone back and forth. Ubisoft, Warner Brothers, EA had it for a bit with Battlefront 2. Like I said, Warner Brothers got it with Shadow of War, with the Orc loot crates, and then it sort of just kind of hung around for a little bit. And then it's like Zaslav himself, like, I'll have that, I'll take that, I'll hold that for a bit. If anything, I'll hold it up and make sure you know that I've got it. That it just feels like all the wrong decisions that are entirely business focused at the sacrificing of creative. I mean, the thing is, like I said, I'm default negative because of everything that's come out of it so far. I do think that the gameplay looks very smooth for what it is.
It looks technically really well put together. Like, I think on a technical level, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League will probably be a good game. I mean, I love the presentation. It kind of tonally jars with the Arkhamverse, and it's definitely not the DC game that I would make. You know, I'm kind of fed up completely with evil Superman stories. Like, it feels like a complete hangover the last decade of films and comics or whatever. And again, like, it looks great. These models are great. Loads of detail, attention. They look fantastic. And like, even swinging around as Harley Quinn and maybe shooting people, that looks fun. But the thing that I always come back to with this as well, you know, Marvel's Avengers was completely destroyed when that came out in 2020, right? But even then, you know, Crystal Dynamics, they actually committed to the abilities that those characters had. You played as the Hulk. You didn't play as big green dude carrying a minigun.
So good to say.
Which is what King Shark is doing here. You know, you could only use his melee abilities, like, you know, in certain like contexts or whatever. You know, Hawkeye was still Hawkeye, still used a bow and arrow. He didn't use guns. This to me is like a fundamental. We have gotten the base template of we wanted to hit on the third-person shooter co-op demographic. And we're going to plug in DC characters for that. I don't think this game was built up with DC from the ground, which is the biggest mistake you can make.
Which is one of the biggest things across the industry at the minute, is that you look at certain projects and they so nakedly feel like they're disparate parts that have been stitched together. Obviously, Modern Warfare 3 is one of the biggest, most negatively received recent games, and that goes down the same model where you can see what they've done. You can see it's glorified Modern Warfare 2 DLC, you know, they're going to charge a full price for it. It's not hard to not see that. And I feel that in the Suicide Squad's case, I just don't buy that it's what Rocksteady wanted to do, is one thing. And then two, once you see the different parts come together, like we were saying before we were recording, there are clearly so many incredibly talented people at the studio because they're nailing the rendering and the traversal and the way that it runs. Like, it runs very smoothly and things like that. So it's just one of those things where some people will definitely have fun with it, but I think there are too many, as you know, overtly cynical elements to it, where it's, you're too aware that you're being taken advantage of, your time is not being spent very well. And I'll be amazed if they pull it off. Like, I'll be amazed if it lands positively. I think at the most you'll get a few reviews saying, actually, it's pretty solid. But Forspoken had them too, and I'm a big proponent of the opening of Forspoken being solid enough, but it couldn't save that game overall because it was too cynically put together. Closing thoughts, Sir Ewan?
Look, I'm a big Batman Arkham guy, so I'm probably, through some matter of circumstances, gonna end up playing this game. You know, it's
still don't say the damn
like,
thing.
it's gonna happen. There's no way I can escape that. You know, I love Rocksteady as a studio. I hate kind of like being negative about a game that they are making because, again, completely foundational to my taste as a gamer or whatever. But to me, it is daft. They've driven an entire video game community completely daft. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Batman Arkham Reddit. Those guys are having a hard time down there. But yeah, no, it's just frustrating. It's not the DC game that I think I and a lot of other people were hoping for from Rocksteady. The thing that I keep on seeing from people is like, oh, well, they had this open world Metropolis, so they wanted to do a Superman game more. And to be honest, a Superman game would have been...
That was rumored for so long. There's a bunch of stuff. I'll put a little video here rounding up some various projects that were potentially in the works as far as we were able to tell over the past few years. Thank you all very, very much for watching. I've been Scott Tilford from WhatCulture.com. And we'll catch you next time.